If you're into Japan and you like the spooky, the creepy, or just the supernatural in general, well, I've got a podcast recommendation for you. Hey guys, it's Tony here, and today I've got an episode of somebody else's podcast, the Supernatural Japan podcast. This is a podcast produced and hosted by Kevin O'Shea. You may remember him because he's been on this show twice, but he's also the host of the Just Japan podcast. Well, for quite a while now, he's been producing the Supernatural Japan podcast. He's done over 60 episodes, and what he does in this show is he picks some supernatural related Japan topic. Sometimes they're fun, like yokai kind of stuff. Sometimes they're spooky ghost stories, and sometimes they're even true crime kind of things. And he presents it with some nice music. It's got a lot of ambiance. And if you're into that kind of thing, you should definitely check out the show. I will include a link down below, but of course you can also find the show wherever you get your podcasts. And by the way, I was talking with Kevin and he brought up the idea of doing cross promotion. So he's going to be talking about Japan Station in his upcoming episodes, directing people over here. And I'm letting you guys know about his awesome show. So today you're going to get to hear one episode from the Supernatural Japan podcast. It's about something called Onibi. I'm not going to explain what it is because that is what Kevin is about to do. Hope you enjoy it.
Welcome to Supernatural Japan, the podcast where we explore the folklore, ghosts, and mysteries that have haunted the Japanese imagination for centuries. I'm your host, Kevin O'Shea, and today we're diving into one of the strangest and most haunting supernatural phenomena in Japan, Onibi, the ghostly flames. Now, if you've ever heard of Europe's will-o-wisp, those mysterious lights that lure travelers into swamps, you'll feel a sense of familiarity here. But Onibi are uniquely Japanese, with deep roots in spiritual belief, nature, and the uneasy relationship between the living and the dead. The word Onibi is written with the characters for Oni, or demon, and Hi, fire. Together, that gives us demon fire, or ghost fire. These are small, flickering flames said to appear in lonely places, cemeteries, marshlands, forests, or old battlefields. They glow faintly blue, sometimes red or purple, and drift eerily through the night. Unlike ordinary fire, Onibi don't burn wood or grass. Instead, they say that they feed on something far more unsettling: human life force. Folklore tells us that if you get too close to an Onibi, you might feel weak, exhausted, or even ill, as though your very energy is being stolen. So where do they come from? There are a few different beliefs. One explanation is that Onibi are the souls of the dead, especially those who died violently or with grudges. If a spirit isn't properly laid to rest, maybe it was denied a funeral or died with unfinished business, it might manifest as a wandering flame. Another version says Onibi can be created from the spiritual energy of animals. In some regions, foxes and tanuki, both trickster figures in Japanese folklore, are said to create these floating flames to confuse and scare travelers. There's also a naturalistic explanation that can be folded into folklore. Swamp gases or phosphorescence mistaken for natural fire. But for villagers in pre-modern Japan, when you saw strange blue lights floating in a graveyard, that explanation wasn't chemistry. It was the restless dead. Old stories describe people walking at night and suddenly seeing these small fires hovering at eye level, drifting just out of reach. Some would follow the lights only to become hopelessly lost. Others avoided them altogether, believing they were a bad omen, perhaps even a warning that someone nearby would die soon. In Edo period kaidan, or ghost story collections, onibi were often illustrated as eerie orbs floating beside travelers or haunting temples, I should say. In Ukiyo woodblock prints, you'll sometimes see warriors or monks surrounded by strange glowing flames. Those are onibi, marking the presence of spirits. Now, Supernatural Japan listeners, I have a question for you. What would you do if you were ever out hiking at night and you saw strange lights? Now, in the past summer when I was in Kyoto hiking on Mount Oiwa with Philip Jackson, we stopped upon a pond, and he told me that people in the past has said they've witnessed orbs of light floating above that pond. And I wonder if those could be onibi. I wonder. There are some videos in the social media. I do have a video clip. I'm going to put it on Instagram at Supernatural Japan, where a brief video clip where Phil shows me the pond. I take some pictures of it. At least I think I have that. I hope so. And it's definitely in the recorded version of our podcast. And you can hear us talk about that pond. But I just wonder, what would you do? What would you do? I don't know what I would do if I saw lights like that, ghostly orbs. Now, if you've listened to earlier episodes, you might remember hitodama, those glowing orbs that appear near graveyards, usually thought to be human souls. Those were mentioned in the episode about the Kobe Foreigners Cemetery in Kobe, Japan. Now, onibi are similar, but they carry a darker tone. Where hitodama are often neutral, just the soul leaving the body, onibi are hungry, parasitic and demonic. This makes them a little closer to yokai than just ghosts. They're not just a symptom of death, but a supernatural danger in their own right. Fire is powerful in Japanese culture. It warms, it cooks, it purifies. But fire can also destroy. And uncontrolled flames have long been feared in Japan's wooden towns and villages. Onibi embody that double nature of fire. Light in the darkness, but dangerous and consuming. They also reflect a common theme in Japanese folklore. The boundary between the natural and supernatural is thin. What might just be swamp gas in the scientific sense, could still carry a real spiritual meaning if it frightens you, drains your strength, or reminds you of death. So the next time you find yourself walking in the Japanese countryside at night and you catch a flicker of bluish light in the corner of your eye, think twice before following it. It could just be a firefly, or it could be something older, hungrier, a ghost flame waiting to drain your strength. And that's all for this episode of Supernatural Japan. If you enjoyed our journey into the eerie world of onibi, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with friends who love folklore and ghost stories. Now, I wanted to share a fantastic review of the Supernatural Japan podcast on Apple Podcasts by a listener named Taika13. Taika13 wrote, "I recently discovered this podcast and I'm addicted. History mixed with spooky lore in a most stimulating way. Binge-worthy educational entertainment. I am interested in Japanese culture, but this podcast would entertain anyone interested in ancient, modern, or anything in between. Ghostly tales reported in very historical places and events." Well, thank you so much, Taika13. I absolutely appreciate your kind words, and I'm so happy you like the podcast. And I would love it if others, just like you, left comments and reviews about the podcast wherever you listen to us, on Spotify, on Amazon Podcasts, on Apple Podcasts. Please follow the podcast on social media if you want to see images of onibi. You can follow our Instagram at Supernatural Japan. I think right around now, there's about 225, 227 people. Would love to have some more. You can also follow our Facebook group, and you can follow me, Kevin O'Shea, your host, on Blue Sky and X, at Mad for Maple. Of course, all these links will be in the show notes. I also want to thank those who have recently supported the show on Buy Me a Coffee. Every donation is greatly appreciated, and it makes a significant difference. I ordered a new mixing board just this week, and hopefully the podcast will soon sound better than ever. Now, you can also shoot me any episode ideas, your thoughts at supernaturaljapan@gmail.com. I recently got some great topic ideas from a few listeners, and I'm going to incorporate those into some future episodes. I'd love some more. Well, I'm Kevin O'Shea, and I'll be back soon with more tales of the strange, the haunted, and the supernatural from Japan. Until then, watch your step in the dark and keep an eye out for ghostly flames.